Well, it is 7:00. We are, yes, everybody's here. So it is the 5th of October. I can't believe it. The 5th of October, 2021, Clayton City Council meeting. We're going to call this to order and we will do roll call. Now, Jen, please.
Sure. Councilmember Diaz.
Present.
Councilmember Tillman.
Here.
Councilmember Juan.
Here.
Vice Mayor Cloven.
I'm here.
Mayor Wolf.
I'm here. Okay, we are all here. So now we're going to go on to the last time we'll see this particular video, right? And then we'll get a new one next time. All right, so here we go.
Sorry about that. There we go.
Due to COVID-19, this meeting will be conducted as a Zoom webinar pursuant to the provisions of the Governor's Executive Order N-2920, which suspends certain requirements of the Brown Act. This meeting is being webcast on the City of Clayton's website. The mayor will call upon its council, presenters, staff, and other speakers by name and ask that they speak clearly and state their name before giving comments or remarks. Persons participating via webcast and Zoom with their cameras enabled are reminded that their activities are visible to viewers. Members of the public participating by Zoom wishing to speak should use the raise hand feature or dial *9 and the mayor will call upon them at the appropriate time. Telephone attendees will be called upon by the last 4 digits of their phone number. It is requested that public speakers state their name, but providing such information is voluntary. Written public comments received by Clayton City Clerk by 5 p.m. today will be entered into the record, but will not be read out loud. If authors of the written correspondence would like to speak, they are free to do so and should raise their hand and the mayor will call upon them at the appropriate time. A roll call vote will be taken for all action items. The chat feature is not active. In order to get the full Zoom experience, please make sure your application is up to date.
All righty. So we are moving on now to item number 3, and that is the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilmember Diaz.
Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilmember Diaz. Now moving on to item number 4, which is our consent calendar. Do we have any council member want to pull anything, discuss anything from the consent calendar before we go to the public? No? Okay. Let's find out if we have anybody in the queue, Janet, to open public comment on the consent calendar only.
Mayor Wolf, I do not have any hands raised on this item.
Okay, then we will close public comment on the consent calendar and move for a motion by the council.
Move approval, Jim Diaz.
First by Diaz. Do we have a second?
We'll second that.
Second by Cloven. Janet, please call the vote.
Councilmember Diaz.
Yes.
Councilmember Tillman.
Yes.
Councilmember Juan.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Cloven.
Yes.
Mayor Wolf.
Yes. Okay, that passes. Moving on to recognitions and presentations. We have a proclamation declaring October as National Disability Employment Awareness Month in Clayton. So I will read part of that right now. National Disability and Employment Awareness Month. National Disability Employment Awareness Month. Sorry about that. Whereas October 21st marks the 76th anniversary of National Disability Employment Awareness Month, and whereas the purpose of National Disability Employment Awareness Month is to educate about disability employment issues and celebrate the many and varied contributions of America's workers with disabilities. And whereas the history of National Disability Employment Awareness Month traces back to 1945, when Congress enacted a law declaring the first week in October each year as National Employ the Physically Handicapped Week. And whereas in 1962, the word physically was removed to acknowledge employment needs and contributions of individuals with all types of disabilities. And whereas in 1988, Congress expanded the week to a month and changed the name to National Disability Employment Awareness Month. And whereas activities during this month will reinforce the value and talent people with disabilities add to our workplaces and communities and affirm Clayton's commitment to an inclusive community that increases awareness and opportunities to all, including individuals with disabilities. Now, therefore, I, Carl Wolf, Mayor, on behalf of the Clayton City Council, do hereby proclaim October as National Disability Employment Awareness Month in the city of Clayton, California, and encourage our citizens, employers, schools, and other community organizations in Clayton to observe October with appropriate programs and activities and to advance its important message that people with disabilities add value and talent to our workplaces and communities. And now, item B is Italian American Heritage Month. All right, whereas with more than 16 million Americans of Italian descent living in the United States today, the Italian heritage has a noted influence in our country since our ancestors first came to America. And whereas since that time, generations of Italian Americans have helped shape our society and steer the course of our history. And whereas Italian American men and women have distinguished themselves serving in many numerous positions, including and contributing to the society and culture in various ways. And whereas Italian Americans have enormous philanthropic contributions to both local and national charities. And whereas each year Italian Americans celebrate this heritage by holding an Italian festa to bring Italian culture to the community through music and food. And whereas this month we proudly join other cities around the country in celebrating the rich culture and history of Italian heritage in the United States. Now, therefore, I, Carl Wolf, Mayor, residents to join in this observance. All right. That wraps up our recognitions and presentations for today. Item number 6, reports, starting with our city manager.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Just a quick update. The surveys that we put surveys were open through last Sunday. We received a total of 155 community-wide surveys completed and 27 business surveys completed. Many of you may have heard that there were flyers that were delivered to pretty much all of the businesses by Elvia of our staff, which was great. And so I think that helped us reach some of those businesses as well. So we will be reporting back at one of the next 2 council meetings on the next steps for the American Rescue Plan. But I think we were off to a good start with getting that feedback to help designing programs. So that is the update I have for this evening.
Good. And I talked to some business owners and they got the flyers and were very excited that they were reminded by those flyers. So that's really good. Okay, since that's the city manager staff report for today, we'll move on to city council reports. And I know, Jim, you probably have a lot to talk about today. So would you mind starting our city council reports?
I'll take it. First, from the 22nd to the 24th, I did attend the League of California Cities meeting in Sacramento. Very, very popular meeting. They had 1,700 attendees. So it was a real interesting process to get all that many people into the convention center, which had been remodeled up in Sacramento. I will note a couple of things that I thought were of interest. I attended several of the breakout sessions, and one of them that I want to bring note to was how to have a successful city operation with the city council and the city manager working together, which I think we're finding out is doing well here in Clayton. The one thing that they pointed out, and they had people from representatives from the new relatively new city of West Los Angeles. It's brand new city manager and one of their city council people. And one of the delicate balances that the city manager must do is work with 5 distinct individuals and not show particular favoritism or leanings towards one of the members. And I just make a comment that unfortunately in the past, before we went through this cycle of changing city managers and now settling upon Ms. Schwartz, we did have such a situation where our former city manager did tend to pay more attention to one city council person than the others. But that's just in passing. That does not appear to happen at this point. Another one that was extremely interesting was what was characterized as restaurants and businesses operating in the post-COVID-19 scenario. And it's going to be a changing world, and including restaurants, which are now in Contra Costa County, in case everybody hasn't been to one recently. You must show your ID and your vaccination card, valid vaccination card. And so that's something that we're going to have to adjust to over the next period until that rule relaxes. But there are a number of things how the larger brick and mortar businesses are going to be redoing their modus operandi of how they conduct businesses. In fact, I mentioned when I talked with Raina today, that one of them of note is Amazon. And Amazon is the big bull, a big dog in all of this entrepreneurial world. In fact, what they're going to do, and they haven't completely rolled it out yet, is they're going to set up a what I would call, and how they were characterized as, is a dressing room or a singular location where you could go for multiple vendors, Macy's, Neiman Marcus, and so forth, because it's going to be very difficult to buy certain clothing items, for example, online, because you couldn't get into a do loop where you get it, it doesn't fit, you send it back, you keep going back until you finally get one. Where what they're going to propose at Amazon is to set up a common place to go for a number of businesses, and you could order your product, have it show up there, go try it on. If it doesn't fit, you turn it right back, and you don't have to worry about this in the mail and all of that kind of thing, or repackaging up and so forth. So I thought that's an interesting way that some of the brick and mortar businesses are going to operate after these post-COVID-19. Another thing that's really very beneficial about that kind of a gathering in Sacramento with all of the various cities, and again, I said 1,700. It was sort of interesting, and I mentioned it to Raina one day today, that the league is very famous for box lunches. And so what you do is you go through the line, you pick up your box lunch, and then you go sit down at wherever you can find a table. Well, it just so happened I went out on the patio and sat down at this one table that only had one resident or one occupant. And so I sat down and talked with him, and I found out he was the city manager of the city of Galt, which I have a very close colleague who was a compatriot of Cesar Chavez that lives in Galt. And so we got talking about that. I found out also he was a city manager at Pacifica. The other thing that turned out so fascinating, we both had music as a common background. Turned out he was at one time the president of Local 12, which handles Sacramento and the general area. Had a marvelous discussion about that, as well as my career as a musician, and to this day as a life member of Local 47, which tends to be the big dog in California because of the recording industry, television, and the movie industry in Southern California. But the other thing I found was interesting is his city in Galt is about twice the size of Clayton, and yet he's facing many of the same things that we are, because number one, even though they have over 25,000 residents, it's predominantly a bedroom community, even though twice the size of Clayton. So we got to discuss a number of things that we both face and how we're going to address them, which that's one of the benefits of meeting with other leaders from other communities when you go to that session. So I'll end it there, but say he and I have agreed to follow up and discuss things in the future relative matters like this, as well as our careers in music. On the 22nd, came back and also attended a interesting meeting with the candidate for the district attorney, Mary Knox, who's a 30-year prosecutor out of the DA's office, and it was a moderately attended event. The next night, I also came back because the Contra Costa Association of Realtors were celebrating their 100th anniversary. And I have to tell you, this was quite a spectacular thing, a big barbecue, live music and so forth. But again, they are what I would characterize, each individual are small business people, although they do very well. And yet their goal is to be a small business, not be part of a large real estate operation, and have a good perspective on what's going to be taking place. They're concerned, again, what about single family homes and how they're going to handle it? So I just bring that to our attention. On the 27th, I was interviewed by Dan Keene from Management Partners on how we're going to proceed in distributing money that we've gotten from the federal government. And I'm waiting for him to come back with a proposal on how that's going to happen. On the 28th, attended the Joint City Council Planning Commission meeting, beginning on things that we have to tend to hear both at the council and the commission level. And then finally, on the 30th, I attended the Clayton Business Community Association mixer at the bocce courts. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Okay, Jeff?
Yeah, I mostly took calls and emails from folks around town, but there's one thing that I did want to call out, and I know that a lot of us have real, full-time jobs, and I came across this one article that I thought was really informative. It's if you want to search, I can't put a link in the chat, which I normally do at work, but it's from Stanford. If you search term Stanford 4 causes Zoom fatigue and solutions, it's actually pretty good. Most of these articles, these self-help articles, really just talk about like nothing important. But this one, it really does identify a few things that resonated with me. And the better thing about it is it tells about ways to address those. 4 causes, it's great. It's like good clickbait, but you don't really have to click, because if you search, it'll just show you what it is. It says, excessive amounts of eye contact is really intense. Observing yourself on chat is really exhausting. It reduces your mobility because you're tied to one place, so you can't move around, which is, a problem. And then, the cognitive load of just interpreting all the information all at once, all the time is more tiring than in person typically. And so if you want to take a look, this article is pretty good. It tells about ways you can do it. I think the big thing about it is like going off camera once in a while is good, as Jim's doing. It's perfect. It's good for your mental health. So anyways, I know that we're all working remotely. Well, not all, but a lot of us are working remotely. So that's my PSA for today.
Appreciate that. I look forward to getting that link, because I've been in Zoom meetings all day long today. Okay. How about Peter?
Greetings. A lot of my committee work was still in summer session, so I was pretty fortunate to have a pretty quiet 2 weeks for the most part. I did appreciate our gathering with our fellow commissioners last Tuesday to start discussing our housing element and our conversations with MIG. I do know that I've had several people reach out to me after that who have seen the video and started asking me questions, and I'm looking forward to having them be involved and be engaged in our process in the coming months. Not only this year, but also next year as we get into the heart and meat of what we're trying to do. We also talked to several businesses and saw the flyers that had been given to them by Elvia for the ARPA fund. So I was pleased that they got out, and then they were asking me questions. Hey, this is your chance to chime in and be a part of it. Again, I think we're doing good things. They're helping not only our small business, but those individuals. So I'm very excited about what that could be. I'll let Holly talk about it, but there was a great event that happened Sunday morning where there was a little anti-racism library that was put together. and put up at the corner of Mitchell Canyon and drawing a blank. Right, it's right there.
Pine Hollow.
Pine Hollow and Mitchell Canyon. Great location relative to the school, and just I think the biggest thing is the people who created it and caused it to happen. It was a great community experience, and I'm looking forward to continuing that dialogue. It's even a year past when it's still great to continue that dialogue. And that's in my report, Mayor.
Thank you, Peter. Holly, now you get to talk about the library.
I do. I'll get there. On the 22nd, I also attended the candidate meet and greet for the DA position, Mary Knox, at the same time that Jim did. That was interesting. On the 29th, I got to meet with Carlin Obringer, who's on the Concord City Council. I'm trying to meet fellow council members in neighboring cities, so it was nice to sit down and get to know her. On the 30th, I also attended the CBCA mixer at the Bocce Courts. And as Peter mentioned, on the 3rd, we did have it was a ribbon pulling ceremony instead of a ribbon cutting ceremony for the Little Free Anti-Racist Library, which you guys are all familiar with because Cheryl came to us earlier this year or late last year to ask for our help on that. And then we were trying to cite locations downtown to put it. Ran into a few snags there, and then realized that it was a lot easier just to find a private residence to put it at. So that's the route that we took. And lucky for us, there was one of the donors for the cause, which is the name of the nonprofit is Rise Up Against Racism, or RUAR, and they are located in Walnut Creek. They're the ones who have put all of these little free anti-racist libraries around the Bay Area, and we were their 10th installation. The artists that put the libraries together are local Bay Area artists that are people of color. And if you go on their website, I'll email the link around since we can't put it in chat, but you can meet all of the artists and hear their stories about their contribution to the cause. And then there's also a builder that they have hired to build the libraries, and he's built 5 out of the 10 of them. So he was at the ceremony. Peter was there, other residents were here, and other people from around the Bay Area. So it was nice just to see that come to fruition. It's there, as he said, on the corner of Pine Hollow and Mitchell Canyon. And the books, you take one, you read it, you bring it back so that other people can learn and spark a conversation. They're not scary. I know people in town were squawking about it on social media, but it was nice to see little kids pull a book out. There's books for kids, there's books for adults. Some of the kiddos grabbed books and sat on the curb and started reading while we were there, still talking, getting to know each other. It was really cute. So I would encourage everybody that's listening to stop by if you get a chance. And I do indeed love the proximity to the elementary school, where children will be walking by every day to and from, and they can grab a book if they want one and bring it back. And that is the end of my report. Oh, other than meeting with Raina a couple of times. Sorry. That's it.
Most important part. Thank you. Okay, so for me, I also attended the Cal Cities Conference in Sacramento as the alternate to our voting delegate, Councilmember Diaz. Those 2.5 days, very informative. Jim and I actually attended different seminars, which I think is good for Clayton because now we have a wider range of what we got a chance to see there. Some of these things can be very dry. I'm sure Jim can tell you, they can be just very informative, but very dry. But I got a chance to go to the Facebook one, which was actually quite entertaining. They were talking about public outreach, and that was very informative. I know Jim mentioned the 1,700 people. That was a very odd situation in this day and age to be with that many people. I think they handled it well, but still it was a little disconcerting. But the seminars were really good. Even the general sessions were great. Willie Brown got a Lifetime Achievement Award for his service to the public. And it was very motivational, very educational. We also got a chance to go onto the expo floor with a lot of vendors that were city focused with regard to infrastructure things and new things coming down with technology, broadband, whatever. So that was nice. I think I picked up about 5,000 pens from there. So I know every vendor I was with. So it was very good. I wrote about it in the Pioneer. And speaking of that, the Pioneer and the Gazette articles I have written. Met several times with our city manager, also met with our vice mayor separately. and of course attended the joint City Council and Planning Commission meeting on the housing element. I attended the CBCA sponsorship meeting once again. That was just last night. And like I mentioned last time, they're getting geared up to get back in 2022. So, knock on wood, we're able to get back to those CBCA festivals. They're very important to us. It was a very busy week for emails for me, but not so much for calls, but a lot of emails from our citizens. So it'll take me a little while to get back to you, but I will get back to you. Met with a couple of the business owners, as I mentioned earlier, on the ARPA funding. And then the other piece of business was that Laura has been working with the artist who did the Do the Right Thing logo, the original one, I believe. Her name is Megan Mahler. And this is the new one that we will be using going forward. So we have added the inclusion word to the Do the Right Thing logo. This is how one of the banners will look. This just happens to be the self-discipline banner. But as you can see, things pop right out. It's a much more modern, clean design. This will be what you'll be seeing for Do the Right Thing going forward. So we want to thank Laura for all her hard work with the artist Megan Mahler on that. And thank you, Raina, for your support on that as well. And I believe that is my report for now. Okay, so we'll move on now to item number 7, which is public comment on non-agenda items. You'll have up to 3 minutes to speak your mind on items that are not on today's agenda. It'd be nice to identify yourselves and speak up and clearly. Janet, I will open that up now. Do we have people in the queue?
Mayor Wolf, I do not have any hands raised on this item.
Okay, we'll give it a couple of seconds here, just since we started it. Anybody want to speak to non-agenda items? Going once, going twice. Okay, well, then we will close public comment on non-agenda items and move on to public hearings, which we have a resolution of the City Council to the City of Clayton updating the development of the wetlands mitigation fees for the East Contra Costa County Habitat Conservancy. So I'll turn that over to our Community Development Director, our permanent Community Development Director, Dana Ayers. Take it away.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Wolf. I'll try to keep this brief. I have a few slides just to keep myself on track. So if you give me a moment, I'll share screen. Okay, thank you again, Mayor and members of the City Council. The item that's before you tonight is an item related to the East Contra Costa County Habitat Conservation Plan, Natural Community Conservation Plan, or HCP, we'll call it for short. Just as a matter of background, the HCP represents a regionally coordinated approach to permitting for development and preservation and conservation of sensitive species, their habitats and unique natural resources in Eastern Contra Costa County. The project, the HCP has been going on for quite some time, a couple of decades now at this point. Through the HCP, developers can streamline their permitting processes related to their project's impacts on natural resources. They conduct limited biological resources surveys, they pay fees, or they dedicate land according to a predefined schedule in the HCP. And any mitigation measures are also prescribed in the HCP. So it allows for projects to have a more streamlined permitting process. The HCP Conservancy, which is the oversight agency for the HCP, takes those funds, takes those dedicated lands, and puts them toward preservation projects and restoration projects or acquisition of land within East Contra Costa County. Again, the HCP is really intended to provide a more streamlined approach for developers to receive resource agency permitting for their projects' impacts on biological resources. It's also more efficient in that It's also, more efficient for the permitting agencies in that the HCP allows for acquisition of large tracts of land rather than spots of mitigation in, sporadically throughout the area that's disconnected and really doesn't have a significant amount of benefit as much as those large projects can. The HCP was adopted by this city council in 2007. There are 5 agencies that are participating agencies within the HCP, consisting of the city of Clayton, city of Pittsburgh, city of Oakley, city of Brentwood, and Contra Costa County. Each agency adopted their own process, their own ordinance for implementing the HCP. Clayton's ordinance was incorporated into Title 16 of Clayton Municipal Code, particularly in Chapter 16.55. And then Clayton Municipal Code Section 16.5.060 authorizes the City Council to impose as well as to amend a development fee, a wetland mitigation fee, and administrative fees related to certain development projects to which the ordinance applies. The HCP, as well as the City Council resolution that established those fees, require automatic adjustments annually for those fees, according to Consumer Price Index or another index. There are, within the HCP program, scheduled audits within years 3, 6, 10, 15, 20, and 25 after implementation of the HCP, which began in 2007. And the purpose of the audit is to do a more comprehensive review and evaluation of the fees to determine whether they're on track, whether they're too high, whether they are too low, and how they should be adjusted to better account for the needs for implementation of the HCP. The Conservancy, the HCP Conservancy, adopted a fee study that was performed in 2017. That was the year 10 audit. It was subject to some litigation, so there was some delay in getting that audit adopted by the Conservancy. But the Conservancy did adopt the 2017 audit in February, earlier this year. Contra Costa County subsequently adopted the fees in August of this year, and now the cities are following along to update the fees and to adopt the 2017 fees as they've been subsequently annually adjusted to the 2021 current amount. So here is an overview. This information is also in your staff report, this particular table. It outlines what the different fee amounts are, how they're assessed, whether based on a per acre amount or a per foot amount for streams. So again, this just reflects what the current 2021 fee is based on that automatic annual adjustment versus what the 2021 fee is recommended based on the 2017 audit, again, adjusted annually to 2021. Fees that are collected under the HCP are not held by the city. They are passed through to the Conservancy. There is as I mentioned before, an administrative fee that will remain in place, or that staff recommends remain in place, that would cover city staff time to administer the HCP for the city, including reviewing reports, conveying information back and forth between city, developer, and HCP staff, conveying those fee amounts and deposits, and ensuring post-project compliance. So again, staff recommends that the City Council adopt a new resolution amending the fees according to the 2017 audit, again, adjusted to 2021, as is recommended in the resolution attached to your staff report. And with that, I will invite any questions.
Okay, I wasn't sure if you were completely finished or not there. All right. So if you wouldn't mind unsharing your screen, and then Council, if you have any questions of Dana. I don't see any. Oh, Jeff?
Can you expand a little bit on the relationship between the automatic increase that was mentioned in the deck with, it sounds like there's an automatic increase, but here we're approving an increase, like how that works together?
So every year, okay, so maybe back up a little bit. Audits are performed every roughly 3 to 5 years of the HCP implementation. So year 3, which would have been 2010, year 6, year 10, and year 15, and then 5-year increments. In between those years, the fees are automatically increased according to an index. So when the fee audits are conducted, the adjustment to the fee is according to what the outcome of the audit is, rather than the automatic adjustment according to the index.
Okay, that makes sense. So the automatic increases are basically just in between audit years.
Yes.
And then it gets trued up. Essentially, we got to approve that.
Yes, that's a much simpler way to put it. Thank you.
All right. It didn't come through on my end. So thanks. That's helpful.
Any other questions? No? Okay, so we'll take some public comment on the public hearing. Then we open up the comments for the public.
And I think, Mayor, you're opening the public hearing.
Public hearing, yes, every time. The public hearing, thank you.
Mayor Wolf, I do not have any hands raised on this item.
Okay. All right, then we'll close that and move back to the council for a motion.
Move approval.
I'll second that.
Second by Cloven. Janet, please call the vote.
Councilmember Diaz,
Yes.
Councilmember Tillman,
Aye.
Councilmember Juan,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Cloven,
Yes.
Mayor Wolf.
Yes. And I got to say, I sit on with those people in the East Contra Costa Habitat Conservancy, and they're very committed people there. They really know their stuff. So, right. So we're out of the public hearing now, going to action item 9. A, adopt a resolution, City Council, City of Clayton, allowing for video and teleconference meetings during the COVID-19 state of emergency. And we'll turn this over to the city manager.
Great, thank you, Mayor and Council. Just very briefly this evening, as we've discussed, the Governor's Executive Order N2920, for those of you who didn't have that number memorized, you can now forget about it, expired September 30. That executive order suspended certain provisions of the Brown Act related to telephone or video conference meetings. Those provision changes were codified with the passage and signature of AB 361, which took effect October 1st. The provisions are generally the same between that prior executive order and the current legislation, with a couple of distinctions. One of the main ones is that in addition to the gubernatorial declaration of an emergency, in this case, requires that the local government, in this case the city council, make findings relative to acknowledging the emergency, as well as the findings that a state or local official has mandated or recommended virtual meetings in lieu of in-person meetings, or allowing for the video and teleconference. So in our case, the Contra Costa County Public Health Officer, Dr. Farnatano, has strongly recommended that for the time being that public meetings take place in a virtual setting. If they don't, there are strict physical distancing requirements that he has put in place. And so we are, as we discussed, going to continue at this point with the virtual meetings. The legislation also required that the council take this action to make such findings every 30 days. Given the fact that some of our council meetings between now and the end of the year are more than 30 days apart, you will see this on every council agenda because it's simpler to do it than to worry about whether I've forgotten that it's 34 days and getting it on the agenda. Unless there's a desire to discuss it in the future, it will be placed on the consent calendar, but could obviously always be pulled as needed. And then at some point we will end those findings and move back to in-person meetings. So with that, I am happy to answer any questions on this item.
Jim?
Yeah, just for clarification then, Raina, it's a requirement that the council take action every 30 days because it would expire at the end of that period. Is that correct?
That's correct. We would not be allowed to have the virtual meetings at that point.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Raina?
So did you see these protocols being observed at the giant 1,700 person meeting?
Yeah, at the Cal Cities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm curious.
Yeah. Yes. Although I got to be honest with you, I don't know how Jim is going to respond to this. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Jim, but it was odd because we were all masked up in public places and all this stuff, aside from when you're eating. But yet I would see people from the convention staff walking around with masks below their nose or not at all, or So anyway, but generally, as far as we were, they also had a COVID testing site on site there as well. And so for me, it was tense, but it was definitely following the protocol. So Jim, you might want to jump in.
I would just say it was very interesting. In fact, I would say that the protocols were. I don't want to be too critical. But they were varying in enforcement. In fact, I don't recall anybody. Just to give you an example, when we initially checked in on the first day, they had you download a program into your iPhone so that you could fill out all the information that you needed. One thing that stumble blocked me was it wanted the county code for Contra Costa County, which nobody around there seemed to know. So my whole process stopped immediately, and I had to go search out the key staff, a lady by the name of Megan Dunn, who was extremely knowledgeable, helpful, and she helped me get bypast all of that. But the one comment that I would make, you were on the honor system relative to were you vaccinated? I guess Sacramento County or whatever county that is there, they didn't enforce it as Contra Costa is doing so now. So I just say it was a little bit, it was uneven.
Yeah, uneven. You're right. And when I checked in there, they had me show my card. I don't know if you did with you, but I had to show my vaccination card to them to get registered.
Wasn't asked. All I had to do was push the button saying, yeah, I have it. And nobody verified it. So here we go.
Yeah. So that,
COVID knows when it
you
knows
look
when you're
suspicious.
eating.
That's why they did it to you.
Yeah, that's probably true. Jeff, you're going to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to say, you don't have to wear a mask while you're eating because COVID knows when you're eating and then it just stops. So
I know that, I don't know about Jim, but I would try to find tables that were spread out. It was great meeting people and talking with people for a change, but, trying to stay spread out as much as I could. But, what could you do? That's a lot of people.
Uneven. I just say uneven.
Anybody else have any questions? We didn't take public comment yet, so we should probably do that. Let's.
I don't have any questions. I just.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, in response to Jeff's article, in the Zoom fatigue, there's also a way to hide seeing yourself, because I think people get caught up in looking at themselves all the time. Instead of having to turn off going off camera, you can turn off seeing yourself so that your eyes don't get drawn to looking at you all the time. Just a tip.
No, that's good. Yeah, that's awesome. Although that can get dangerous, as Mr. Tubin, as some folks have found out.
By the way, one final comment that I have is, talking about screening and all that. when I went to the Contra Costa County Association of Realtors meeting, which was in Contra Costa and Pleasant Hill. You couldn't get in there without showing both your ID card and your vaccination card. They weren't going to let anybody in there. And I suspect that's because, again, we were so close to, Martinez Center, wondering if they were going to make sure everybody observed that. So anyway.
So we shall open up the public comment now on this action item. So Janet, do we have anyone who wants to speak?
Mayor Wolf, we do not have any hands raised on this item.
What is going on today? Okay. All right, folks. Then in that case, we'll close the public comment and move it back for comments or questions by resolution, a vote here. So anybody want to make a motion?
Move approval.
I'll second.
Second by Tillman, was it? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Okay, Janet, you can call the vote.
Councilmember Diaz,
Yes.
Councilmember Tillman,
Aye.
Councilmember Juan,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Cloven,
Yes.
Mayor Wolf.
Yes, that passes, and we'll move on to our closed session now. So folks, we're going to be going into closed session, item number 10 here, a conference with our legal counsel, and then we will come back afterward and report out to you before we move on to our final part of our meeting. So we will adjourn this part and move to our closed session now, and we'll be back.
First.
Okay. We are back. It's 8 o'clock and we are back to reconvene our city council meeting. We have nothing to report out from our closed session. Molly, do you need to say something?
No, you've said it, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we'll move on now to the continuation of our consent calendar, item 11. Do we need to take public comment on this particular item? We do. Okay, so do we have any questions or comments from the council before we do that? No. All right, open up the public comment for the continuation of our consent calendar 11A. Janet, do we have anyone?
Mayor Wolf, we do not have any hands raised on this item.
All right, I think we have a record of no hands today. All right, thank you. We'll close the public comment on this, bring it back for motion to the council. Oh, yes, Jeff, you had something?
No, I was just messing. Yeah.
Okay, good. All right. Do we have a motion?
Move approval.
Approved by Juan, second. Anybody?
I'll second.
Second by Tillman. And Janet, please call the vote.
Councilmember Diaz,
Yes.
Councilmember Tillman,
Yes.
Councilmember Juan,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Cloven,
Yes.
Mayor Wolf.
Yes. And now council items limited to requests and directives for future meetings. Council, do we have anything that you would like to have brought up? Yes, Jeff. Or are you just messing with me again?
No, this is real.
Right.
Now that we have, I think the summer concert series has concluded. I'd like to talk about the arrangement that we have I think we call ourselves the fiscal agent, and how that actually works, and if it is set up optimally, along with any other arrangements of similar kind.
Okay. Got that, Raina? Okay. Anybody else? Okay. So it looks like our next regularly scheduled city council meeting will be October 19th. So thank you all for joining us, and we'll talk to you then. We are adjourned.